birria tacos in LA, Korean tacos in Texas, and breakfast tacos from a gas station. This week, it's all about tacos.
Traveling the world to bring you delicious dishes, tasty beverages, and interesting experiences. This is the Destination Eat Drink Podcast on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
I'm Brent Peterson. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel podcast for foodies. Destination Eat Drink is where food and travel come together at the Destination Eat Drink website, on the Destination Eat Drink YouTube channel, and here on the Destination Eat Drink podcast. And this week, we're celebrating Cinco de Mayo with a show all about tacos. But first, if you like food and travel, and that's why you're here, you'll love my website too, destinationeatdrink.com. I'm releasing new stuff all the time, and this week I just posted a story about a Spanish dessert with only 2 ingredients. You can read that at destinationeatdrink.com/blog. I also posted a new video. Last week was the 50th anniversary here in Portugal of the Carnation Revolution. That was the uprising that finally toppled the fascist dictatorship that ruled the country for half a century. And my video shows the big party that we had to celebrate. See that at destinationeatdrink.com by clicking on the video tab or by going to my YouTube channel at Destination Eat Drink 946. And if you like this kind of food and travel stuff, please consider supporting Destination Eat Drink at buymeacoffee.com/Destination Eat Drink. You can make a one-time or recurring contribution in any amount, and thank you very, very much. With Cinco de Mayo coming up, I thought we'd do an episode about tacos. So let's talk fancy tacos, pastrami tacos, jackfruit tacos, and much, much more. Okay, I'm starving, so let's eat.
Destination Eat Drink.
Sarah Jarosz is a Grammy Award-winning musician, singer, and songwriter, originally from Wimberley, Texas, just south of Austin. She shares her favorite spots for tacos in Austin, Texas. Let's talk about food in Austin because, you grew up in Wimberley. And for folks who don't know, Wimberley is just south of Austin, small town. But you were just back in Austin. And I actually was back in Austin a few weeks ago. And my whole time there was thinking, all right, where do we have to go to eat? 1, 2, 3, 4, all the places that we have to check off the list. And I'm wondering, when you go back to Austin, do you think of places where you have to go, or what are your go-to spots?
My ultimate comfort food, more than anything, is Tex-Mex food. I mean, it's just, having grown up in being born in Austin. It's the right place to be, man. Exactly. Born in Austin, grew up in Wimberley, which, as you said, is just 45 minutes outside of Austin. My family and I just loved so much Tex-Mex. Also, the whole Texas breakfast taco vibe is very unique to Texas. Yeah, well, migas, but also just it's kind of, sometimes outside of Texas, you'll get these breakfast tacos and it's just not the same. There's something about it being wrapped in tinfoil that kind of congeals it all together.
I think it's the tinfoil keeps that steam in there, and that
Exactly.
helps keep it. Yeah, I agree. Where's your favorite place to go for breakfast tacos in Austin? Do you have a spot?
Well, it's interesting because since I've lived in Austin, I haven't lived there in over 10 years now. And so obviously the food scene in Austin has just exploded in that time away. So a lot of my favorite places in Austin are not by any means like the trendy or cool places, which I have that side of me, which I'm sort of like a foodie, and I like to follow what the exciting new chefs and all of those things. But honestly, my go-to, like when I land, I haven't been able to do it this last year, obviously, but before this last year, when I land in Austin, my first stop is usually Trudy's Texas Star Bar, which is near the UT campus, and it's kind of my favorite, like the combination of their queso and their Mexican martini, which is basically just a margarita, but served in a martini glass with an olive. That's just like my favorite thing to do, like when first getting into Austin.
And a can of Old Style on this, or Old Style. I was just talking to someone about Chicago, and Old Style's the beer there. I meant Lone Star, of course. We're talking about
Lone Star,
and
exactly.
A can of Lone Star.
Yes.
Where do you stand on Torchy's?
I have to be careful what I say.
I know.
People,
this can be divisive.
A lot of people love Torchy's. It's personally never been my favorite. I think this is related to the aluminum foil thing that I was speaking to. Like they're a little too big and like kind of overflowing. I find like the best. Honestly, if you talk to people in Wimberley, like the best breakfast tacos are at the Diamond Shamrock gas station. Like literally, those are the best ones in town. Also, Mima's would be that was kind of the place that I frequented the most in Wimberley, and that, all the high school students would start their day at Mima's breakfast tacos. And so Torchy's, they're almost just too big. Like there's kind of a smaller element of the breakfast taco that I think is important.
Eunice Reyes is an author, video creator, and the person behind the popular YouTube channel Rated V. She talks about her favorite vegan tacos in Los Angeles.
So tacos obviously are a big deal here, obviously because there's such a beautiful influence of Mexican culture here, right? There's a large Mexican population. And from the non-vegan side, you will see taco stands pop on the street, in front of grocery stores, in front of bars, in front of clubs, like everywhere. It's like street food. Like, 'cause if you go to Mexico, for example, that's what you see. That's normal. And so I'm still waiting for the day till something like that vegan pops up. But, until then, it still has a very strong vegan taco scene here. There are a few that are just pop-ups, and there's others that have kind of like have a brick and mortars, and then there's other ones that are full established restaurants. So it's really great. And then there's restaurants, of course, that have tacos on their menu, right? But I would say the ones that I've really enjoyed going to the most. So there's different varieties, right? Which is the beauty of it. There's just so many different kinds of tacos. So a few that I've gone to that I'll mention that were also in my video. One of the originals, so the OG of the vegan taco scene here, is called Cena Vegan. And they started selling at Smorgasburg, which is a weekly pop-up that happens on Sundays in the Arts District. So a bunch of food vendors will just go on this parking lot and they'll, pop up. So it happens every day, every Sunday, all year, right? With exception when COVID happened, like they had to stop, but it's always been a weekly thing. So that's always fun to do if you want to try a bunch of different things. But they kind of initiated this movement, right? Which was great. And they created a lot of their proteins. So that's either soy or they have gluten-free options made out of yuba skin, like the tofu skin, which is my favorite because it's, high in protein. It doesn't have gluten if you're like allergic to that, or maybe you don't want soy. So they do a variety of different kinds of meat. So again, like seitan or soy, yuba, and they make their own handmade tortillas too, which I really appreciate. So they do them to order. That always adds like a little extra yummy touch to tacos, right? And they also make at select locations because they now have expanded, right? Before they used to only be at Smorgasburg, but now they have one in a collective kitchen in Long Beach, and then now they're in Whittier, and also they're usually in Los Angeles. I think it's like East Los Angeles where they are at, but they have a torta that is so good. It's so good. I know it's on tacos, but for those who are not familiar, a torta is like this giant sandwich. Like theirs is literally the size of my face. And so it has like beans and lettuce and avocado and their own crema, and then you choose your protein and they ask you what salsas you want, and it's so good. And the bread, like Carmen, the owner, she spent a lot of time looking for that bread because she was so particular about the type of bread to use for the torta, which for good reason, because the bread is what makes tortas, right? So yeah, that was really good. And then within the taco scene in general, not just the vegan scene, there has been this trend of birria. I don't know if you've seen it or are familiar with it. Have you seen it?
I think I heard about that in New York. It was going on there. There was a big,
it's kind of going on everywhere. Yeah.
Okay, because I wasn't. I think it must have kind of taken off as we were heading out of of the U.S. So I never saw it, but I've heard about it, and I've seen. In fact, Michaela Malazzi, who does a TV show on PBS called Bare Feet, she was telling me about that in New York, and said it was a big thing going on there. So you're saying it's in L.A. too? Maybe it's nationwide by now.
Oh yeah, it's everywhere, literally everywhere. So birria is essentially this stewed meat. It's a stewed shredded meat, right? Typically beef, but it's taken the world by storm. There's different kinds of birria tacos. You can have it on a soft tortilla. You can have them in my favorite way is with the crunchy. You dip. It also comes with consommé. So consommé is like a dipping soup that comes with it, accompanies it. So you usually dip the taco in this. That's what kind of makes it an iconic birria taco, right? So what they typically do to prepare it is they'll dip the tortilla in this consomme oil, and then they'll fry it on the comal, on the grill. And so it gets it crispy because it has the oil on there, right? And it gives it this beautiful red color. So it gets crispy. And then that's when you add the birria meat, which in the vegan case, I've seen it out of so many different things. I've seen it out of mushrooms. I've seen it out of jackfruit. I've seen it out of the yuba tofu skin. And each one is delicious. And I just love seeing everybody's creativity trying to replicate this, right? And they've done a really good job. And so they put that in there. And then there's quesabirria, which is the cheese birria, right? Which is even better, right? So it's you put a vegan cheese and then the meat. And so it melts all together, makes it crispy. And then you just dip it in the consomme, broth. And it's so good.
Wow.
So for me, there are a couple places that do it. So each one of the places so Cena Vegan does one, but they do it on a soft tortilla. And then there's, El Cocinero, who's also super popular. I'll get to him in a bit. That he does his version of it. And then my personal favorite, honestly, is a pop-up. And her name is, her pop-up is called Chonchitas. It's run by Evelyn and her husband, and she only pops up about once a month. However, what I really like about theirs is that she makes her own in-house cashew cheese. And when you put that on the grill, I remember it's one of my most viral Instagram videos. It has 10,000 likes already. It's over 130,000 views. It's ridiculous. But, it's because I was filming her make it, and I was just blown away just watching this, because she would put the cashew cheese on the grill, and then when they flip it, it looks like real cheese, that, that chewy texture.
Right.
And so I don't know how she does that, but it was it's amazing.
Wow.
And then she makes her birria meat out of jackfruit, and she does such a great job of not making it taste like jackfruit. You know what I mean? Sometimes people prepare jackfruit and it still has that acidic, slight briny flavor that jackfruit can have sometimes. And she does a really good job of eliminating all of that to where it tastes like birria meat, right? And it's ridiculous. So it's so good. And so I feel like she's done a really good job. And so the next one that I really enjoyed is, his name is Alex, and he runs El Cocinero. El Cocinero is in near Van Nuys. He's in the San Fernando Valley. He's far. If you're in the LA area, I'm living in the Long Beach area. So it's even further. It's an hour drive. And that's not with really any traffic. With traffic, it's an hour and a half. He does also his concept is really great, because he has this traditional kind of almost like a taco, like what a taqueria looks like. You go inside and there's just all the different kinds of proteins. The majority of his proteins though are soy based. So he uses soy curls or other things, but they're mostly soy based, with the exception of the jackfruit for the carnitas, right? So there you can kind of build your own kind of taco. So you can choose your protein, choose whatever tortilla you want, or however you want it, burritos, quesadillas, everything, right? So that's a cool concept. He even has desserts like flan. So I really like how he has really nailed the vibe of what you expect when you go to a taco shop, right? but his is all vegan. So he's become really popular. A lot of celebrities post about his food. But yeah, like he's great. But the beauty of LA is like there's great vegan tacos almost in any region. So you will definitely find the closest vegan taco shop near you, wherever you live in LA, right? You could even like in Brent and Westwood, I filmed a taco shop called Hijo de su Madre, who specializes in Yucatecan, like South Mexican food, which is another style, right? A lot of times people associate taco culture or Mexican food with northern Mexican food or from Mexico City, but not from the Yucatan Peninsula, which has a completely different vibe, right? You get a lot of mix from like central, almost like it's Mayan influence. So it's similar to Central American food in that kind of sense. And so he does an amazing job as well with jackfruit. So yeah, that was my long little explanation of all the tacos. There's way more, but that's me in summary.
And I love the little pop-ups. When we were in Austin, like some of the best taquerias were these trucks that were parked in gas station parking lots, literally in gas station parking lots. And
literally, yes.
And when I first moved there, I was like, how good could this be? It looks kind of run down and stuff. And then you go there and you're like, oh, I see why there's a line here. It's not to fill up their tanks, man. It's to get the tacos.
Exactly. Honestly, no matter where you go, the best tacos will always come from a truck. And the reason for this is because there's less delay in it getting to your hands, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. The faster you get it to you, the better the texture is going to be, everything. You know what I mean? So that's why my theory as to why tacos from a truck are always going to be better from tacos from a restaurant. It's just the way they serve it. You just get it. You literally get it straight off the grill kind of thing. It's kind of like eating a baked good straight out of the oven.
Right.
It always tastes better. Like that's kind of how tacos are. The sooner you can eat it fresh, the better. Right. So.
Jose R. Ralat is a food writer who is the taco editor for Texas Monthly and the book American Tacos. He talks about Korean tacos and kosher tacos.
So Korean tacos came into the popular arena in 2008 when Roy Choi opened up his food truck, Kogi Barbecue. And he leveraged Twitter, which was new at the time, to increase its popularity because the profile was public and anyone could follow it. Entrepreneurs across the country were paying attention and they were inspired by that. Within 2 years, there were Chemex spots opened up from coast to coast. Now, Roy Choi did not invent this style. I would call him the godfather, not the father.
Okay.
What he did is take 20 years of community exchange between the adjacent Mexican and Korean populations trading ingredients and package that. So this style of food already existed. It just was only found in a small segment of the population. The codification came with the big wave of openings between 2008 and 2010. And so let's look at what these tacos are comprised of. Well, they're highly seasoned grilled meats in tortillas. That doesn't sound very un-Mexican, does it?
No. It sounds pretty standard so far.
Yeah. That's essentially it, really. It's just a community exchange reflecting a time and place, which is how I define a taco, really.
Well, there was a place when I lived in Austin. It started off as a food truck. Now they've got several brick and mortar locations called Cilantro.
Yes,
and they do something that I just love called kimchi fries, where they take French fries and put a bunch of kimchi on the top. So at Chemex, taco, would we get kimchi on it? Would that be one of the ingredients we might see? Because that's what I identify with Korean food.
It's one of the possibilities. Yes. And what's so interesting about Chemex in particular is that it is a perfect example of this gateway to the broader cuisine. Prior to the Korean taco, Korean cuisine really wasn't well regarded. People kind of steered clear because kimchi smells,
Okay.
And the packaging it as a taco allowed for an easier, let's call it a culinary passport to the broader cuisine. So it's a perfect vessel to a wider world.
I'd like to ask you about another kind of taco that you mentioned in your book, and that's called deli-mex or kosher tacos. How does Jewish food fit in to the taco universe?
There is really no coincidence that the Inquisition and the conquest of what we used to call the New World occurred at the same time. And Jews were among the people who sailed to the Americas, and it is highly likely that the first Jewish person to set soil on what is now the United States came through Mexico and not New York as is previously thought. So there is a long-term tradition of crypto-Judaism, hidden Judaism, and the sort of Jewish underpinning to Mexican food. For example, contemporary iterations include cabrito al pastor, which is butterfly kid goat that is speared and cooked vertically over mesquite. It's very good. But what I get into really in the chapter is what happened in Los Angeles in the early to mid 20th century, which is you had Jews and Mexicans living side by side in Boyle Heights, Los Angeles.
Oh, interesting.
And they were trading ingredients just like the Koreans and Mexicans.
Like all these cultures do when they get together. It's so cool.
Yeah. And so you have pastrami tacos, pastrami burritos, and out of that came a chain that had a location near the LAPD's downtown headquarters. So during the filming of Dragnet, for example, Jack Webb would go eat kosher burritos from one of the stands. And it was this really big thing for him. And you find contemporary versions, but it comes in waves. Places open, places closed, but the mid-20th century was a really big time for that taco.
Is there still a good place that we could go to somewhere in the United States that is an excellent example of deli-mex?
Yeah. In New York, Alex Stupak has pastrami taco. A place called Delicatessen Taco or Taco Delicatessen, I can't recall, has a smoked pastrami taco. And now neither of them come on rye tortillas, which I really want. I just think it'd be perfect.
With a pickle spear? Okay, that was a fun conversation. How could it not be when it's about tacos, after all? Jose R. Ralat's book, American Tacos, is out now. Sarah Jarosz is on tour, and her latest album, Polaroid Lovers, is out. And you can follow Eunice Reyes on her YouTube channel, Rated V. I've got links to all my guests in the show notes. And if you like the show, be sure to subscribe. I drop a new episode every Friday. We're closing in on 300 episodes of the podcast. Next week, I'll brand new one with Kira Cook. She tells me about the new season of her show Islands Without Cars and Swimming with Sharks, plus a memorable meal on the beach at sunset. Don't miss that. Destination Eat Drink is distributed by the Radio Misfits Podcast Network and Ed Silla. Thanks, Ed. I'm Brent Peterson. I'll see you down the road.
Join us next week for another culinary adventure on Destination Eat Drink, a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.